Hey everybody, another really important video. It doesn't matter if you got a Hilux or a Prado or both, or even a VX Commodore petrol engine. It doesn't really matter which one you've got. It's really important in regards to oil changes. I'm going to save you thousands of dollars over the life of the vehicle. Some people are underdoing it, some people are overdoing it, and we're going to we touched on this in a video maybe about a month ago, a few weeks ago. It'll be in our playlist called oil change videos or something along those lines. Check the playlists. Very handy that there's a whole bunch of organized videos into those subheadings for you. So check them out. I think it's called oil change videos or something like that, showing how to change oil, talking about oils and stuff like that. It's probably in there, hopefully. If not, maybe someone can go find the video and put the link in the comments. So we talked about high kilometers and how, you know, if you've done high Ks at higher speed, average speeds and that, the actual oil is going to be cleaner and stuff like that. And if you've done low Ks and it's, you know, so we're just going to sort of go through it again. But before we do, I'm just going to give you a bit of a rundown. Without too much precision, just kind of saying, well, if you do really low Ks, because look, I made a statement that I'm about to change my mind on in that last video. Okay, I've changed my mind a little bit again, so maybe I think too much. Well, definitely I think too much, right? And I'm always thinking how I can help you guys out, and I hope you find that's the results of the videos, trying to help you out. I'm just going to say it one more time. It's not about the YouTube channel and making money, although that would be nice. I can make more money if I just stop wasting time with this camera and not bother doing any videos and just work on cars. Okay, I can make more money in one day than the YouTube channels altogether in a whole month. So, you know, if I was better at it, maybe I could make more money, but some things you're good at, sometimes you're not. I'm not going to be an AFL football star. And the YouTube channel, unless everybody starts hitting subscribe and turn the bell on, it's not going to grow big, and it's not going to reach enough people, not before it's too late anyway. Hopefully maybe someone takes over the channel later and we can continue doing what we're doing. But what I want to talk about is, I said, okay, so a bit of history first. I want to be clear, I've always loved petrol engines. I haven't owned any petrol engines for a fair while now. Well, you know, wife's car's always a Camry or Corolla or something like that, into the Corolla hybrid now, of course, because why wouldn't you? It's the most efficient way. It's got the power, it's got the torque, it's got the combination. They're super reliable. Toyota have been doing them for years, and there could be a video on that, so subscribe, turn the bell on, like I said. But look, I've always liked petrol engines. I never really liked diesels. Diesels came in, they're for four-wheel drives, all right? Four-wheel driving, outback traveling in Australia, the range, the hill descents, the hill climbs, the torque, this sort of thing. And of course, the fuel economy for people that are doing the big Ks, because they are cheaper to run. Now, each to their own. Sometimes the V6 that doesn't do many Ks is going to suit people better, but people weren't buying them and they got rid of them. So we can't talk about that. That's finished. Now, oil changes. I've always recommended, whether it's petrol or diesel, let's just go before the diesels. I always said 5,000 K oil changes, and do your oil and filter, it's down there somewhere, every 10,000 Ks. Now, there's a variable on that as well. It doesn't matter if you've got a four driver, a petrol or diesel. This is all relevant information. You've got to understand it. So then the four drives came along. Now, Dad owned, he had the GQ, he had the, you know, the PETROL, he had the 80 series, the 100 series and all that. And I just had the fast cars, okay? And then eventually I got into, you know, got the Hilux, Prados and stuff like that. Now, the 1KZ Prados that I had, in the book, it says service every 5,000 or oil change every 5,000. So what I used to do is the oil every 5, and the filter was quite expensive. So oil and filter every 10. The filter's not going to blow. It's a massive big filter because they know they're going to be loaded with soot. Okay, the filter on these is much smaller. And then, of course, we moved into this. This vehicle we've had nearly 10 years. This is the longest vehicle I've ever owned by far. I've had a lot of vehicles, dozens and dozens of cars. They come and go. Maximum is normally about 3-4 years. I mean, in that time, I've done 300,000-400,000 Ks in cars in 3 or 4 years. So I do, or traditionally done a lot of driving. So oil every 5,000 Ks, or where the manufacturer sort of said 15,000, I just say do it in between at 7.5. And I suppose I wasted a lot of oil. I had mates who used to take my Mobil 1 that I used to drain out after 5,000 Ks and put it straight into their older cars, you know, whatever the case may be, because 5,000 Ks in a month when you're doing those sorts of Ks, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks. Lots of driving, right? So they're going, mate, you know, give that to me. So that Mobil 1 never went to waste, you know, but it was only, to me, I went $25 for 5 litres, you know, back in the day, back in the, you know, what was that, in the 90s and whatever. It was like, you know what, the lifeblood of the engine, it's cheap insurance. Anyway, so point is, we got into the diesels, the 4 drives, and you see the soot in the oil and you kind of go, well, you don't want that. So we're going to stick to the same sort of servicing regime, 5,000 K oil filter every 10,000 Ks, but there's a few variables you got to take into account, and we've changed a lot. We sort of said, okay, firstly, let's go Overseas, they talk about 10,000 miles. So straight away, that's 16,000 Ks. So that tells you that the oil and the filter quite often is going to be okay for 16,000 Ks. Now, I'm not telling you what to do yet. I'm telling you, watch the whole video, listen to it, understand it, watch the other one where I spoke about it, and there'll be another one coming. So like I said, highly recommend you subscribe so you don't miss it. You really need to understand things. Don't just do what I say. Don't do what anyone else says. Listen and get to understand what we're talking about so you can make the right decision yourself on everything, like when to replace injectors, when to replace your water pump, when to replace your coolant, air filter. This one's oil. Okay, so in the last video, I'm pretty sure I said, look, they've doubled the price of the oil, which they have. Oil's doubled. I don't know about everywhere else in the world, but in Australia, oil price has doubled over the last few years to buy oil in a retail container. You know, the 10-litre Penrite was close to 100 retail. You could regularly get on special for about 50 bucks. Easily 60, sometimes 50, sometimes 46 and stuff like that. Of course, I always missed it because when I needed it, I had to go and trade price 60, 70 bucks, whatever the case may be for the 10 litres. The 10 litres is cheaper than the 7 litres. If you're chasing cheaper price, you've got to look at the price per litre and work it out. You're generally paying about 10% more, unless, of course, there's a special on the 7 litre and not the 10. So be aware of that. Now, because they doubled the price of oil, I started thinking, well, how can we offset that? And I've worked out that half as much oil changes. So what I was doing is 5,000 K oil changes, or 6 months, whichever comes first, was my other rule. And I'm kind of like, okay, hang on a minute. So on these engines, check the other video for what I said, okay? Because I'll be wrong. But the point is, I said I'm going to leave. I don't care how long the oil filter's there, to be honest. It can be there for 3 years. Doesn't bother me. It's not going to block up and stop working any time soon on any of our engines. So just think about that. You're wasting oil filters. Some people are going, oh no, but I don't mind and I want to do it and I'd rather. You can do that, but it's just wasteful. You're completely wasting your money. Do you understand what the word waste means? It's a complete waste. You're just throwing money into the bin. If you got money to throw in the bin, donate it, give it to someone that can use it, because there's people that need it. Let us know if you need help, because we'll help you out where we can. That's what we're trying to do now, trying to help you out, right? If you don't need help, well, you've probably lost interest already and you're gone. And maybe you do need help and you don't know it. Maybe you just need to stop wasting money and other things in your life could change, you know, if you got more money because you need less things. Anyway, we're going to go off topic here if I'm not careful. So this is what I decided. Now, okay, so the 120 Prado, it got oil change, if I remember correct. What I said I'm going to do oil every June, July, end of financial year, and oil and filter every Christmas, regardless of Ks, right? That's what I said I'm going to do, didn't I? Well, I've changed my mind again because a year could go by. I'm getting to the point where, you know, I've got too many vehicles now. A year could go by and I've only done 1, 2, 3,000 Ks. So it's going to be hard to keep track of when I want to do oil, when I want to do oil filters, this sort of thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to try and leave the sticker on the window for the oil filter every 10,000 Ks regardless, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Lock that one in. I don't mind if I forget and it goes 20,000 Ks. I've got no issue with the oil filter doing 20,000 Ks, okay? Now, a lot of our Ks are highway Ks, but they're not all highway Ks, okay? So this is the problem I got. We're not going to do enough Ks. I already said that. So I don't mind in a diesel engine. So we've got to separate the two here. Petrol engine, my oils are coming out in 6 months. Unless it's only done maybe 1,000 Ks, 2,000 Ks, then I might even leave it 12 months. But the oil filter is going to stay there for 10,000 Ks in all the engines, 10,000 Ks, okay? It's a good number. They can last longer than that, but 10's a good number, you know? They're only 15 bucks, more or less, you know? Depends which car. Once a year, 10,000 Ks, whatever Ks you're doing. But my big point here is, if you're doing high Ks, and we sort of explained it in the last video, and I'll just go over that quickly again. If you're doing really high Ks, like say, you're on the highway a lot, your traveling speed's around 110 in Australia, you know, you live in country properties or between big tech, whatever. So you're doing 10,000 Ks in 2 months. So your average speed is could be close to 100 Ks, 80, 90, 100 Ks, somewhere there. A lot of people that are in urban, built up, busy areas, their 10,000 Ks average speed can be 20 kilometers an hour, 30. You know, you think you know what your average is, but you don't really know. You need to probably get an app for that and have a look at what your average speed really is, because most cars that I've looked at, I'm going to estimate a lot of people's average speed at about 30 Ks an hour. So if your average speed's 30 Ks an hour and you need a service every 10,000 kilometers, say, they're saying, you know, perhaps, if you're averaging 99 kilometers an hour, then you don't need a service for 30,000 kilometers because the engine's done the same hours. And there's a few other factors to take into account. Like, for example, if you've done 99 k's an hour average, that means less warm-up cycles, less cold starts, yeah? With the slow average speed, say 33 k's, right? That means you've started and stopped warm-up cycles, cooling down, warming up, which is not as good for the engine, a constant, you know? So if you've got average speed of 99, I can't see any reason why 30,000 kilometres with an average speed of 99 isn't better than an average speed of 33, getting your oil and filter every 10,000 k. So you can put in the comments if you want, but if you think other than that, then you're wrong. Okay, sorry to sound arrogant, but I've already thought about this. Okay, there's no downside to 30,000 k's. Now the problem you got to take into account, of course, is time. In case you might be not driving the vehicle much, but when you do, you go on trips. So it might take you 30,000 kilometers, it might take you 5 years to do 30,000 kilometers, but when you do, your speeds average 100 k's an hour. In that case, you just got to use your brain a bit and vary it, and you probably, the best time to change oil if the vehicle is going to sit there is either before you let it sit, particularly if it's a petrol engine. You don't want that. You want clean oil. So what happens with a petrol engine? The fuel that blows past the rings, it contaminates the oil, and that's what causes all your oil leaks, deteriorates all your sealants, your seals and stuff like that. This is a problem in petrol engines that diesel engines generally don't have, okay? The oil gets filthy, the oil pickups get gummed up, blocked up, whatever, depending how fine it is. It's a bit of a problem on the Toyotas, probably because they're a bit finer, because they care a bit. They don't want all these big chunks going into your engines because they're a quality engine, rather than some other cars. Maybe they've got bigger holes and the stuff just doesn't block up, and then of course more crap goes through, but it doesn't cause any problem because the engine's a bit sloppy already. They don't last as long as Toyota engines, right? Yeah, Toyota fanboy again. Well, you know, look, I can only be a fan of what's good and what's quality, right? If it's quality, I'm a fan, right? It's simple as that. To this one, I mean, you can compare the quality and the design. I mean, we're going off topic here, but look at this massive big hose, how long it is, and the weight in that. I mean, the weight of that on bumps going up and down. When this radiator deteriorates, it's just going to snap off. It's just way too big, long, and heavy. So, things to think about. Anyway, so if you've got a petrol engine, so what I'm going to say is kind of judge it by the dipstick. Have a think about all the things I've said about kilometers and hours. You need to work out your average speed to work out the hours. So, because what I'm saying, I guess, is this service schedule, well, it is an Australian service schedule, and they've got a rough idea how people use their vehicles. And if you're just the average person, you're probably on the money at every 10,000 Ks in every 6 months, okay? That means 20,000 Ks a year. But if people are doing 30,000 Ks in 6 months, I'd suggest that if you're averaging 100 Ks in it, you know, and that sort of thing, you know, you've got to do what you've got to do under warranty. When you're outside warranty, it's up to you to start thinking and have yourself educated, and that's what this channel's about. So you can actually think and go, what do I need to do in life here? Do I need to waste my time doing an oil change on this, or should I be servicing the lawnmower? Because it only takes 600 mil of oil, that old Briggs and Stratton, and it should be done once a year as well, ballpark. But again, it depends how much you mow the lawn, how bad the oil is. It'll run for 5 years, 10 years without bloody changing the oil. It'll run for bloody hours without any oil in it. They're awesome little engines, but the point is, maybe that service on the lawnmower is more important. Everyone's going out to service their lawnmower now. Too late, sorry. Sunday night video, I think it's going to be. So you'll have to leave that till next weekend. Put it on the list of things to do. So the point is, you can judge it a lot by your dipstick, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start pulling the dipsticks out and go, okay, let's do this. It's a happening thing, right? And you just look at it and go, it's still pretty clear. It's a bit discoloured, right? If I wipe, that's the colour. You'll see it's brown, you know, but it's not bad. And while it looks like that, and we go, well, when did we do it? We did it whenever it was, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's only done 1,000 Ks, whatever. But this thing, it's going to this might get an oil change every Christmas, because it's not going to do a lot of Ks. It's going to do 1,000 Ks a year. It's going to be a bit of a loan car, maybe. There's a story behind it. You know, we're going to do a bit of work on it. The kids are going to learn some stuff on it if we get round to that, whatever. And we're just going to give it a run every now and then, right? It's got a new alternate. Anyway, yakety yak. So let's have a look at the dipstick on this one. So let's go to the 120. This thing had an oil change. I reckon it was around about May before. Was that May, June? Before the big trip we did, right? Before that, you know, we went away for a couple of months on a big trip. Yeah, we did actually. That's what we did. Right. Now let's just have a look. So let's have a look at it. You can still see the dipstick. See how clear it is? You can still see. Certainly changing oil. See, there's a bit of colour there, but that's not black. That's just a bit of colour. If you compare that to, you know, I suppose you've got to get to know what a dipstick and what the oil looks like. But this one, look, we'll have a look at kilometres as a factor. The average speed is a factor. How it gets used, is it highway runs, that sort of thing, right? Let's go and have a look at the highlights. So I suppose you've got to get your pens and paper out, and it's really, you've got to sort of think about, you know, what you're going to do, especially if you got, look at that, look how clean that is, right? I can tell you when that was changed. Look how clean that is, right? Beautiful. You don't even, there's no oil in there. Everyone's thinking, no. I'll tell you when this was done. It's probably done 1,000 Ks, right? Be careful of not short circuiting, you know, that's why I feed it in from down there, because if you push up here and it doesn't go sideways, arc welding, not good, blow big fuses, not cool, right? So this one was done when we got back. So as I was saying, in petrol engines, the best, if you're going to store it, you change your oil before you let it sit, because you don't want all that. You want clean oil on everything. You let it sit. Then when you start it up cold for the first time in a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, boom, and all the oil is nice and clean, so it gets up there, right? And it's got good properties of, like, for example, the zinc. That's what they, you know, the old Magnatech, they call it Magnatech, you know. It's just fancy names, marketing, fluff and goo, but it's the zinc. Zinc is what sticks to the engine components, so when you start it up, it protects those, because most of your engine wear, you know, whatever the percentages are, you can Google it, but a lot of your engine wear happens at first startup, cold start, that sort of thing, right? So once the engine's warmed up and wet and lubricated, happy days. A lot of engine wear happens at startup. So you want that clean oil going straight up there. Now, that's another good reason why. So what I did with this one, because it's a diesel, not a petrol, I'm not worried about the oil sitting in there on the seals and all that, because it's pretty clean anyway. It's just soot. It's not chemical from petrol that's contaminated the oil, that's, you know, deteriorating, making those seals go hard. It's just soot. So the soot loading, what it does, it can make the oil abrasive once it gets to a certain load. But the amount of oil changes we're doing, we're way ahead of the game. These engines are going to last forever. It's not saying they don't worry too much about what quality oil is, because they're a tough engine. They don't worry too much about how often you do the oil changes. Things start caking up in there. It's not the best thing, you know. Doing my service regime, you open up the cover. Next time I show you inside these engines, you'll see they're like new engines. They'll be the cleanest injector jobs you've ever seen. And you'll go, wow, he didn't change that. He only did that once every year because it was only doing 5,000 Ks or 7,000 Ks or whatever. That's where I'm at roughly. Okay, so change your plans. It's not every 6 months. I'm happy to leave these a year if it's been 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, even 7,000 Ks. It'll get serviced once a year, the Hilux and the 120. We'll keep an eye on the dipstick, monitor the dipstick, colour of the oil. You can see this one's really clean. So this one got changed when we got back from that trip. So that would have been early August or something like that, would have got an oil change. So it's gone through August, September. Hasn't done a lot of Ks. Like I said, probably done 1,000 Ks. That's probably why it's so clean. The 120, it's probably done maybe 2,000 or 3,000. I'd be guessing anyway, but I don't really care at this stage. This one was late for the mid-year oil change. It's not getting another oil change at Christmas. It's going to be middle of next year before it sees oil by the look of that dipstick at the moment, unless it starts doing a lot more Ks. People that are asking on the diesels, this is what we use, but you don't have to do that. The Commodore is probably the most important one for the oil changes, because the engine just isn't as good quality as the Toyotas, and you need to keep the oil changes up to them, otherwise they will wear out faster. And they do. I mean, typically a lot of people say 500,000 Ks for this engine and that's it. I don't know if that's right or not. If you know more about these than me and there's more up-to-date information, let us know in the comments. This has done about 300, it runs fine. It's got a little bit of a rough idle. Could probably do with a few things like a throttle body clean, but we've also got to do that inlet manifold, you know, the little bit of coolant, you know, in the top of the radiator cap there because of the leak between the inlet manifold. Some people know what I'm talking about, some people don't. Got to do the valve covers. But anyway, the leads are good. I'm pretty sure I replaced those at some stage many years ago and hasn't done a lot of Ks since then. So the point is, oil is most important on the petrol engine, whether it's sitting around or whether it's being driven, whatever the case may be. And on this, we just use like Magnatech, because you get the 5 litre. They always do crazy specials for about 25 bucks. So you just grab a few of those when they go on special, half price, ridiculous price, happy days. Well, this is the most important vehicle that we own. It's in the workshop at the moment. Copping some shade, because that's what it likes to do when there's spare spots available. So it's a little bit dirty. It'll probably get it might get its Christmas oil and filter change. We'll have a look at the kilometres and I'll let you know most likely in another video, because I'll be thinking about it again. And I want to share my thoughts and what I'm going to do with our vehicles to keep it the most efficient maintenance program, if you know what I mean. On the 1GD, again, it's under warranty, so it gets whatever Toyota says. It gets a service every 10,000 Ks. But I could tell you, if you were doing, again, like we were, average 100 Ks an hour, it's about 3 times faster than the average speed on most other vehicles that are getting the service every 10,000. But then again, there's that much soot in the oil, it would be good to do it every 5,000. So what I'm saying is, I guess 15,000 is your limit if you're traveling at those higher speeds, in my opinion, because of the soot loading in the oil. And the little engine that's highly strung, it's going to wear out faster because it's smaller. Therefore, it's doing more work to move the same vehicle around. It can't last longer, and it's going to need better oil and more oil changes to have any chance whatsoever. And there is photos of those 1GDs with the camshafts lost their hardening and worn off. So this is a real thing that happens, and they're only been in the Australian market for what? About 7 years. Nobody had heard of a cracked piston. 7 years, 1KDs. 2012, there was bugger all cracked pistons in 2012. Maybe a couple, nobody had heard boo about it. You could go into dealers and they'd say, oh, a lot of them still say now, I don't know what you're talking about, never heard of it. Nah, that's just an online myth, you know. Yeah, that's what they were saying. Anyway, obviously you'd use different oil for your 1GDs, for your DPF. You've got to use that full synthetic GR Sport. I just use the stuff from the Toyota dealer, or let them do it, because they're high-risk vehicles, and you know, the smaller engine thing. They do have problems. I don't recommend them. You wouldn't want to own them outside warranty, in my opinion. They do have and will have plenty of problems. Transmission's awesome, except for the software issue and a few weird things that happen. Even on the one with the good software, a few weird things happen, but that's all good. Use the right oil. So on those, look, you know, if I was for some reason going to keep a 1GD, I'd certainly be doing 5,000k oil changes because of the soot loading. You know, in these, the soot loading's really low because, you know, we reduce these up, well, you know, it just keeps everything cleaner. You know what I mean? Wink, wink. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. 1KD lasts the best. There's so many advantages of this engine, it's not funny. I'm not going to go into that in this video. It's long enough already, isn't it? But I hope you know what I mean. So the 1GD, it's going to get whatever the warranty requirements are, an oil and filter every 10,000 k's, regardless of hours or speed or anything like that. It's not going to get anything extra either, because we're not going to own it more than about the warranty period, more or less, unless I decide I really love it, which I can already tell you. When I drive 150s with a 1GD and then I drive 150s with a 1KD, even though it's got more power and torque, my 1GD, for example, it's got the 150 kilowatt and the, 500 Newton meters supposedly, and it does hold speed really well on the highway, so it's got the torque. As far as the takeoff power and the lag, the lack of responsiveness, and you can feel when you're working on the tracks and on the sand and the sand dunes, even though it's got the tuning that says 150 kilowatt, I prefer this engine in the 120 or in the 150s, the 3 litre. It feels like it's got more balls. I'm going to say it. There you go. Nothing wrong with balls. Boing, boing, boing. Right, it's definitely got more balls. There's no replacement for cubic displacement. Bada bing. Simple stuff. That's really all I've got. I hope you understand what I'm going to do with the oil changes. This one's going to get, you know, when the oil starts to look dirty, once a year for an oil filter. The other one, the oil filter is not even going to happen once a year because it's just not doing the Ks. I'm going to estimate this one about maybe down to about 5,000 Ks a year. I think we need to do some more trips in it and get that up. The 1GD, it's been doing a lot of trips. It's already done 60,000 Ks nearly in, it's not even 2 years old. So it's been doing a lot of, that's how you get to know the vehicle. You got to drive it, you got to use it, you got to work it. That's what we do. Anyway, I've waffled long enough. I've been trying to help you with understanding oil changes. Don't look at the oil when you drain it out in the drain tray, because it's going to look black every time. Like these clean dipsticks, you drain it, it's going to look black. I promise you, I guarantee it already. Judge it by looking at the dipstick. Go, yeah, that looks pretty clean. Have a look at both sides. Where there's a bit more oil, it's going to look darker. You saw how clean the Hilux was. You've got to work out what suits your vehicle, but take note of your average speed, because that'll help you a lot. If you're doing really high Ks, definitely don't do 5,000 K oil changes, in my opinion. 10,000, you can even push it out a bit more, depending how high your Ks and how soon, what your average speed is, all these factors we've talked about. And if anyone made it to the end, you just got to say bada boom, bada bing backwards in the comments, because I can't believe you did. I hardly even made it here myself. I know you must be a subscriber, so I won't bother saying that. Hit the like button if you liked it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good evening, people. See ya.